So for this assignment, I chose to focus on concepts of print, and the specific assessment I chose to research and look at was the book handling knowledge. So this is an assessment that you would do with an emergent reader. For example, I am interning in pre-K with 4-year-olds, so this is an assessment that I very well might do with one of my students. And the materials you need for this assessment, there's a checklist that I will go over in 1 minute, and then you will also need a book. For my example, I'm using the book Corduroy Takes a Bow, and it is from the Corduroy series. It's a very popular book series. So, and then you would also just need a quiet space and a flat area to put the book on. So, the purpose and the skill level is to assess what the student's concept of print is and how far they have developed with that. And for the assessment procedures, what you will start by doing is placing the book in front of a student. You want to place it not like it's supposed to be read, so you maybe want to place it like this, or at the back of the book, or maybe the front of the book but upside down. And you want to ask the student to identify the front of the book and the back of the book, and you want them to identify the spine of the book. You also want them to identify where the title is. They don't have to be able to read the title because they're an emergent reader. You just want them to be able to know where the title is and where the author or maybe the illustrator is. And then you want them to say, okay, you're going to say open the book like you're going to read it. And so for this is a hardcover book, which I think would be easier. And you would say, where do we start reading? So if they say that they start to read on the other opposite side that you would read on, then maybe you would know that they don't have their concept of print fully developed yet. But if they point to the right side, then you would give them a check. And then you would ask them to point to a letter and identify what that letter is. Point to a word, so say okay, point to a word, and then point to a space between two words. So for this is why I recommend that you use a book that has larger print or bigger spaces between words so that the student can easily identify where there is a space between words. And then you want to ask them how they read, how you are supposed to read, left to right, right to left. And that is the end. Basically for this assessment, the scoring is just a checklist, and you go down the checklist what I just went over and mark if they identified it, and if they didn't, then you wouldn't mark it. So some other related instruction ideas would be that you could use a book that you have recently done a read aloud of, or that they are familiar with. That's why I chose Corduroy, because it is a familiar book. It has won some Caldecott awards, and so that would be a familiar book. But say you are doing a read aloud in your unit, or you just did one, then you could use one of those books. And then at the end of the video that I watched, so whenever I was in the modules, if you go under book handling knowledge, there is a video, and the woman, after she went over into the checklist and everything with the student, then she held up letter cards and asked her to then identify the capital and lowercase letters. So that is also something that you could do, whether you did it with a book or with letter cards. So that is everything for my assessment. Thank you.